The outcasts escape. The crimson sands of Proxima Centauri is stretched endlessly under twin alien suns. Amidst the desolate landscape, a lone figure stumbled forward, her silver skin glinting in the harsh light. Princess Zira of the Centaurian Empire gasped for breath, each step sending shockwaves of pain through her battered body. Behind her, the smoking wreckage of her escape pod marred the perfect horizon. Ahead lay only more desert, more emptiness. But it was better than what she had left behind, a gilded cage of politics and betrayal. Zira's mind raced as she trudged onward. How had it come to this? Just days ago, she had been heir to the most powerful empire in the galaxy. Now she was a fugitive, branded a traitor by her own father. All because she dared to speak out against the brutality of the regime. All because she believed there could be a better way than endless conquest and oppression. Her father's words still rang in her ears. "You are weak, Zira, unworthy to lead. The Empire has no place for bleeding hearts and misguided idealism." Then had come the coup, swift and merciless. Zira had barely escaped with her life, fleeing in a damaged ship to the farthest reaches of known space. To this desolate world that the Empire had long ago dismissed as worthless. Now it was her only refuge. If she could survive long enough to what? Zira didn't know. For the first time in her life, there was no plan, no clear path forward, only the desperate need to keep moving, to stay alive. The suns climbed higher in the alien sky as Zira pressed on. Her throat burned with thirst, her limbs grew heavier with each step. But she refused to give in to despair. She was a daughter of Centauri, forged in the crucible of galactic politics. She would endure. She had to. As the second sun began to dip toward the horizon, Zira's keen eyes spotted an anomaly in the distance. A dark speck against the red sands, too angular to be natural. Hope flared in her chest, giving her renewed strength. She quickened her pace, ignoring the protests of her exhausted body. As she drew closer, the speck resolved itself into a crude structure, some kind of dwelling or outpost, long abandoned. Zira approached cautiously, her royal training kicking in despite her desperation. She circled the structure once, scanning for any signs of life or danger. Finding none, she pushed open the corroded metal door. The interior was dark and musty, filled with strange artifacts Zira didn't recognize. But it offered shelter from the harsh elements outside. For now, that was enough. Zira sank to the floor, her back against a wall. She allowed herself a moment to breathe, to take stock of her situation. She was alive, against all odds. She had found shelter. But she was alone on an alien world, with no resources and no way to call for help. And she knew it was only a matter of time before her father's forces tracked her here. The Empire's reach was vast, its technology unparalleled. They would scour every planet, every system, until they found her. Zira's fists clenched as determination rose within her. She would not be dragged back in chains, would not bow before her father's twisted vision for the galaxy. Somehow, she would find a way to survive, to fight back, to build a future based on compassion rather than conquest. But first, she needed to rest, to heal. Zira's eyes grew heavy as exhaustion overtook her. She drifted into an uneasy sleep, plagued by dreams of pursuit and betrayal. She didn't know how long she had slept when a sound jolted her awake. Zira's eyes snapped open, her body tensing for action. There, another sound. Footsteps drawing closer. Zira held her breath, pressing herself against the wall. Had they found her already? Was this the end of her brief bid for freedom? The door creaked open, spilling harsh sunlight into the dim interior. Zira squinted against the glare, her heart pounding. A silhouette filled the doorway, humanoid, but unlike any species Zira had encountered before. The figure stepped inside, and Zira got her first clear look at the stranger. It was tall and gangly, with pinkish skin and a thatch of dark fur atop its head. Its face was oddly flat, with a protruding nose and small, round eyes. Those eyes widened as they fell upon Zira. The creature let out a startled yelp, stumbling backward. "Holy shit," it exclaimed in a language Zira's universal translator struggled to parse. "What the hell are you?" Zira rose to her feet, wincing at the pain that shot through her body. She drew herself up to her full height, summoning every ounce of royal bearing she possessed. "I am Princess Zira of the Centaurian Empire," she declared, her voice steady despite her fear. "And who, or what are you?" The creature gaped at her for a long moment before finding its voice. "I'm Jake Cooper, human, from Earth." He shook his head as if to clear it. "Did you say princess? Empire? What the hell is going on?" Zira's mind raced. Human. Earth. She vaguely recalled mentions of the species in galactic reports, a primitive race from an unremarkable planet on the fringes of known space. What was one doing here? "It's a long story," Zira said cautiously. "One I'm not sure I should share, but I mean you no harm, Jake Cooper of Earth. I am a refugee seeking sanctuary." Jake ran a hand through his fur. Hair, Zira corrected herself. He looked as confused and wary as she felt. "Refugee, huh? Yeah, I guess I can relate to that. This isn't exactly a vacation spot." He hesitated, then seemed to come to a decision. "Look, I don't know what's going on here, but you look like you could use some help. I've got supplies back at my camp. Food, water, medical stuff. You're welcome to some if you want." Zira studied the human, searching for any sign of deception, but his open face seemed genuine, his offer sincere, and she was in desperate need of aid. "I would appreciate that," she said finally. "Thank you, Jake Cooper." Jake nodded, a slight smile tugging at his lips. "Just Jake is fine. Come on, it's not far. And maybe you can fill me in on this whole princess thing along the way. Because let me tell you, this is not how I expected my day to go." As they stepped out into the harsh sunlight, Zira felt a glimmer of hope. She was still in grave danger, still a fugitive with nowhere to turn. But for the first time since her escape, she was no longer alone. And perhaps, just perhaps, this strange human would prove to be an ally in the struggles to come. For Zira knew that her father would not give up easily. The battle for her freedom, and for the future of the galaxy, was only beginning. Jake led the way across the red sands, occasionally glancing back as if to reassure himself that Zira was real. She followed, her mind whirling with questions and possibilities. Who was this human, and what was he doing on this desolate world? Could she trust him truly? And how would the arrival of this unexpected variable affect the dangerous game she was caught in? Only time would tell, but for now, Zira allowed herself to feel a spark of optimism. Whatever came next, she would face it with the strength and dignity befitting a princess of Centauri. Even if that princess was now a rebel, an outcast with nothing left to lose. The twin suns beat down mercilessly as Jake and Zira made their way across the barren landscape. Zira's legs trembled with exhaustion, but she forced herself to keep pace with the human's long strides. She would not show weakness, not now. "So," Jake said, breaking the tense silence, "want to tell me how an alien princess ended up hiding out in an abandoned shack on this godforsaken rock?" Zira hesitated. How much should she reveal? This human seemed kind, but she had learned the hard way that appearances could be deceiving. Still, she needed allies if she hoped to survive. "I fled my homeworld," she said carefully. "There were political disagreements. My father, the emperor, no longer considered me fit to rule. I barely escaped with my life." Jake let out a low whistle. "Damn. Talk about family drama. So what now? You've got a whole empire hunting you down." Zira nodded grimly. "It's only a matter of time before they track me here. I need to find a way off this planet, somewhere to regroup and plan my next move." "Well, you're shit out of luck there," Jake said with a humorless laugh. "In case you haven't noticed, this isn't exactly a bustling spaceport. Hell, I've been stuck here for months trying to get my own ride home." Zira's heart sank. She had hoped the human might have access to some means of interstellar travel, primitive though it might be. "Then we are both trapped here," she said softly. Jake shot her a sidelong glance. "Hey, don't count us out just yet, Your Highness. Humans have a knack for beating impossible odds, and it sounds like you're pretty resourceful yourself. We'll figure something out." His optimism was oddly infectious, and Zira found herself wanting to believe him. Perhaps there was more to these humans than the Empire's dismissive reports had suggested. They crested a rise, and Jake's camp came into view. It was a crude affair, a battered tent, a small solar array, and various pieces of equipment Zira didn't recognize. But to her weary eyes, it looked like an oasis. Jake rummaged through a storage container, producing a canteen of water and some kind of nutrient bar. He handed them to Zira, who accepted gratefully. As she ate and drank, Jake busied himself with his equipment, occasionally shooting curious glances her way. Finally, he spoke again. "Look, I don't know much about galactic politics or space princesses, but I do know a thing or two about being in a tight spot. Whatever's going on, whatever you're running from, I want to help, if you'll let me." Zira studied him, weighing her options. She was alone, hunted, on an alien world. This human was her only potential ally, and despite her reservations, she found herself wanting to trust him. "Very well, Jake of Earth," she said, squaring her shoulders. "I accept your offer of assistance, and in return, I swear by the twin sons of Centauri that I will do all in my power to see you safely home." Jake grinned, extending his hand. After a moment's hesitation, Zira clasped it in the strange greeting of his people. "Well then, Princess," Jake said, his eyes glinting with determination and a hint of excitement. "I'd say we've got some work to do. Let's see about getting off this rock and sticking it to your old man, shall we?" And so, as the alien suns sank toward the horizon, an unlikely alliance was forged. A rebel princess and a stranded human united against the might of an empire. The galaxy would never be the same. An unlikely alliance. The twin moons of Proxima Centauri B cast an eerie glow over the makeshift camp as Jake and Zira huddled around a small holoprojector. The device flickered to life, displaying a crude map of the surrounding area. "All right, Your Highness," Jake said, his voice low and intense. "Time for some real talk. If we're gonna survive this, let alone take on an entire empire, we need to get creative. And I mean earth-shattering, galaxy-brain levels of creative." Zira nodded, her silver skin shimmering in the pale light. "I am open to suggestions, Jake of Earth. Your species' reputation for unconventional problem-solving precedes you." Jake grinned, a hint of mischief in his eyes. "Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet. First things first, we need better intel. Your fancy royal education teach you anything about ancient alien tech?" Zira's brow furrowed. "There are legends of the precursors, a race that vanished eons ago, leaving behind artifacts of immense power. But surely that's just myth." "Maybe, maybe not," Jake replied, tapping the holo map. "But I've been picking up some weird energy signatures from this region. Could be nothing, could be a game changer. Worth checking out, don't you think?" As they plotted their course, neither human nor alien princess noticed the faint shimmer in the air above their camp, the telltale sign of a cloaked surveillance drone. Miles away, aboard the Centaurian battlecruiser Eternal Dominion, Emperor Zorn watched the holographic feed with growing rage. "So," he snarled, his voice dripping with contempt, "the traitor seeks aid from primitives. How fitting." The ship's commander, a hulking Centaurian named Krek, bowed low. "Your orders, Radiance." Zorn's eyes narrowed. "Monitor them. Let them lead us to whatever they seek. Then crush them both and bring me the artifacts. It's time the galaxy remembered why Centauri rules supreme." Back on the planet's surface, Jake and Zira set out at dawn, their meager supplies packed for the journey ahead. The terrain grew more treacherous as they ventured into the uncharted Badlands, jagged rock formations looming overhead like the teeth of some ancient beast. So, Jake panted as they scrambled up a steep incline. "What's the deal with your pops anyway? Guy sounds like a real piece of work." Zira's expression darkened. Emperor Zorn believes strength is the only virtue that matters. Compassion, diplomacy, cultural exchange, these are weaknesses to be purged. I dared to suggest alternatives to endless conquest. He did not take it well. Jake let out a low whistle. Talk about family drama. But hey, if we pull this off, maybe we can show him a thing or two about the power of teamwork, eh? As they crested the ridge, both human and alien froze in awe. Before them stretched a vast, mist-shrouded valley, and at its center, half buried in the red sand, stood a massive structure of gleaming black metal. "Holy quantum entanglement," Jake breathed. "I think we just hit the jackpot." Zira's eyes widened. Impossible. That architecture, it matches descriptions of precursor design, but nothing so intact has been found in millennia. They approached cautiously, the air growing thick with an almost electrical charge. As they drew closer, glyphs etched into the structure's surface began to glow with an otherworldly light. Princess," Jake said nervously. "You getting any bad vibes from this? Because I'm definitely getting some cosmic horror about to be unleashed vibes." Before Zira could respond, the ground beneath them shuddered. A seam appeared in the black metal, widening into a yawning portal. "Well," Jake said with a nervous laugh, "no turning back now, right? Ladies first." Zira shot him a withering look. "Your chivalry is noted, Jake of Earth, but perhaps we should enter together. Who knows what dangers await?" Side by side, the unlikely duo stepped into the unknown. As the portal sealed behind them, the cloaked drone hovering overhead transmitted a final burst of data to the waiting Centaurian warship. The hunt was on. Inside the precursor structure, Jake and Zira found themselves in a vast chamber that defied the laws of physics. Platforms of shimmering energy floated in midair, connected by bridges of pure light. Holographic displays flickered to life as they passed, showing star charts and diagrams of unimaginable complexity. "This is incredible," Zira breathed, her royal composure slipping in the face of such wonders. "With this technology, we could revolutionize faster-than-light travel, solve resource scarcity across the galaxy." Jake nodded, equally awestruck. "Yeah, or build some kick-ass weapons to take down your dad's empire. Just saying, options are good." As they explored deeper into the facility, Neva noticed the small device that detached itself from Jake's pack, another of Emperor Zorn's hidden surprises, biding its time. They came to a central chamber dominated by a swirling vortex of energy. At its heart floated a small crystalline object, pulsing with power. "That's it," Jake said, his voice hushed. "The motherlode. Whatever this thing is, it's the key to everything." Zira reached out, her fingers trembling as they neared the crystal. "With this we cooled." Her words were cut off as alarms blared throughout the structure. The vortex flared, and a booming voice echoed in their minds. "ALART. Unauthorized access. DHTTTD. Security protocols engaged." Jake grabbed Zira's arm, pulling her back. "Time to go, Your Highness. I've seen enough sci-fi to know this is where things get real messy." They sprinted for the exit, energy beams lancing past them as the precursor defenses came to life. Just as they reached the portal, a massive figure blocked their path. Emperor Zorn stood before them, resplendent in gleaming battle armor, a cruel smile on his face. Behind him, a squad of elite Centaurian troops aimed weapons at the duo. "My wayward daughter," Zorn's voice dripped with false concern. "How kind of you to lead us straight to such a prize. Your human pet will make an excellent test subject for our scientists." Zira's eyes blazed with defiance. "Father, your madness ends here. This power was not meant for conquest." Jake tensed beside her, his mind racing for a way out. Your emperorship. Might want to put a pin in the gloating. We've got bigger problems. The precursor voice boomed again, this time tinged with anger. Hostile intent, DETTTED, initiating PURG protocellulas. The chamber began to shake, energy tendrils whipping through the air. Zorn's troops scattered in panic as sections of the floor began to disintegrate. In the chaos, Jake made a split-second decision. He lunged for the crystal, snatching it from the vortex. Pain lanced through his body, but he held on. "Zira," he shouted, "little help here." The princess didn't hesitate. She vaulted over a fallen soldier, grabbed Jake's arm, and together they dove through the closing portal. They tumbled onto the red sand outside, the ground quaking beneath them. The precursor structure pulsed with blinding light, then imploded in a silent flash. When the dust settled, Jake and Zira found themselves alone on the barren plain. The crystal hummed in Jake's hand, its power barely contained. Zira stared at him in disbelief. "You actually did it, you mad, brilliant human." Jake grinned, though his face was pale with pain. "What can I say? Earth kids don't give up easy. Now, how about we see what this baby can do?" As the twin suns set on Proxima Centauri B, a new chapter in galactic history was about to unfold. A rebellious princess, a daring human, and an artifact of unimaginable power. The stage was set for a conflict that would reshape the cosmos. And somewhere in the vastness of space, Emperor Zorn nursed his wounds and plotted his revenge. The game was far from over. Echoes of a forgotten legacy. The crimson dunes of Proxima Centauri stretched endlessly under the alien sky, but Jake and Zira had no time to admire the view. They raced across the desert, the precursor crystal pulsing with otherworldly energy in Jake's grip. "So, what's the plan now, Your Highness?" Jake panted, his eyes darting nervously to the horizon. "Because I'm pretty sure your dad's not gonna let us go without a fight." Zira's face was set in grim determination. "We need to get off-world fast. There's an old trading outpost 2 days' journey from here. If we're lucky, we might find a ship." Jake laughed, a slightly manic edge to his voice. "Oh sure, just a 2-day hike through alien desert with the most powerful artifact in the galaxy and an entire empire on our tails. No sweat." As they trudged onward, the crystal in Jake's hand began to hum more insistently. Strange symbols flickered across its surface, pulsing in time with Jake's heartbeat. "Ah, Zira," Jake called, his voice tight with worry. "I think our new friend here is trying to tell us something." Before Zira could respond, the ground beneath their feet shuddered. A massive shape erupted from the sand, a towering monolith of the same black material as the precursor structure. "Impossible," Zira breathed, her eyes wide with awe. The legends spoke of a vast network, but to think it extended even here. The monolith's surface rippled, and a shimmering portal materialized. Through it, they could see glimpses of other worlds, other times, the legacy of the precursors laid bare. Jake grinned, his earlier fear replaced by excitement. "Well, Princess, looks like we just found our ticket out of here. Ready for a leap of faith?" Zira hesitated, her royal training warring with the desperate need for escape. But the decision was made for them as the whine of Centaurian dropships filled the air. "Go," Zira shouted, pushing Jake toward the portal. They leaped together, the crystal flaring with blinding light as they passed through. They tumbled onto soft grass, the air thick with the scent of alien flowers. Jake blinked, trying to orient himself in the new surroundings. They stood in a lush garden, crystal spires stretching toward a lavender sky. "Where are we?" he asked, his voice filled with wonder. Zira shook her head, equally amazed. "I don't recognize this world from any star charts. The precursor's reach must have extended far beyond known space." As they explored the strange new environment, Nathan noticed the small, spider-like drone that had hitched a ride through the portal. It scuttled away, transmitting data back to its master. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, Emperor Zorn watched the holographic feed with growing rage. So, the vermin have found a way to use the precursor network. Clever, but futile. Prepare the fleet for trans-dimensional jump. We will scour every corner of existence if we must. Back in the alien garden, Jake and Zira made a startling discovery. Holographic interfaces sprang to life at their approach, displaying maps of uncharted star systems and schematics for technologies beyond their wildest dreams. This must be some kind of precursor archive, Zira said, her voice filled with awe. The knowledge contained here, it could reshape the entire galaxy. Jake nodded, his mind racing with possibilities. Yeah, or tear it apart if it falls into the wrong hands. No offense, but your dad doesn't seem like the type to use this stuff responsibly. As they delved deeper into the archive, they uncovered a terrifying truth. The precursors hadn't simply vanished, they had sealed themselves away, hiding from a threat so great it defied comprehension. The Void Hunters, Zero read from one of the displays, her voice hushed. A force of cosmic destruction, consuming entire galaxies. The precursors built this network as a last line of defense, a way to shepherd life to safety if the worst should come to pass. Jake's face paled. And now we've gone and woken the whole thing up. Think we should, I don't know, apologize and put it back to sleep. Before Zira could respond, alarms blared throughout the complex. A booming voice, not unlike the one from the first precursor site, echoed around them. Warning. Dimensional breach DTTT. Hostile forces 8 Ching. The garden shimmered, holographic defenses springing to life. Through gaps in the energy barriers, they could see Centaurian warships materializing in the alien sky. Okay, time to go, Jake shouted, grabbing Zira's hand. Any idea how to work this teleporter network? Zira's eyes darted across the control interfaces, her mind working furiously. I think, yes, here. She input a series of commands, and another portal sprang to life. They dove through just as Emperor Zorn's troops breached the garden's outer defenses. They emerged onto a windswept plateau, rocky spires jutting into a stormy sky. Lightning crackled between floating islands of stone, and in the distance, a massive space elevator stretched beyond the clouds. Now this is more like it, Jake exclaimed, his earlier fear replaced by exhilaration. We've got a way off planet and a head start on your dad. Things are finally looking up. But Zira's expression remained troubled. Jake, don't you see? We've stumbled into something far bigger than my father's tyranny or even the fate of my people. The entire galaxy, perhaps the universe itself, is in danger. Jake's grin faded as the weight of their discovery sank in. Right. Cosmic horror, end of all things. Just another Tuesday for Jake Cooper, intergalactic fugitive. A distant rumble signaled the approach of more Centaurian forces. Zira squared her shoulders, a fire burning in her eyes that Jake hadn't seen before. We have a choice to make, she said, her voice filled with determination. We can keep running, or we can stand and fight, not just against my father, but for the future of all life in the cosmos. Jake looked at the crystal in his hand, then back at Zira. Despite the madness of their situation, he felt a surge of something he hadn't experienced in a long time. Hope. Well, when you put it like that, he said with a lopsided grin, how can a guy refuse? Let's save the galaxy, princess. As they raced toward the space elevator, the storm intensifying around them, neither could shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The legacy of the precursors, the threat of the Void Hunters, and the darkness of Emperor Zorn's regime, all were pieces of a cosmic puzzle they had only just begun to unravel. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space-time, ancient forces stirred, awakened by the echoes of a forgotten legacy. The true battle for the fate of existence was about to begin. Quantum rebellion. The space elevator hummed with ancient power as Jake and Zira ascended through the turbulent atmosphere of the nameless precursor world. Lightning crackled around the crystalline structure, each flash illuminating the pursuing Centaurian ships. You know, Jake shouted over the howling wind. "When I dreamed about going to space, this wasn't exactly what I had in mind." Zira's laughter was tinged with both exhilaration and fear. "Welcome to life as a galactic fugitive, Jake of Earth. I hope you're not having second thoughts." Before Jake could respond, the elevator car shuddered violently. Through the transparent walls, they saw a Centaurian boarding craft latching onto the structure. "Time to go loud," Jake muttered, hefting the precursor crystal. It hummed in response, tendrils of energy coiling around his arm. Any idea how to actually use this thing?" Zira's eyes widened. "Jake, wait." But it was too late. Jake focused his will on the crystal, picturing a defensive barrier. The artifact flared with blinding light, and reality twisted. When their vision cleared, Jake and Zira found themselves standing not in the elevator car, but on the bridge of a sleek starship. Holographic displays flickered to life around them, showing star charts and weapon systems beyond anything in the known galaxy. "Holy quantum entanglement," Jake breathed, spinning in place. "Did we just create a ship?" Zira's hands danced over the controls, her royal education kicking in. "Not create. I think we phase shifted into a precursor vessel, one that's been waiting for millennia to be awakened." A massive view screen shimmered into existence, showing the Centaurian fleet arrayed against them. At its center loomed the Eternal Dominion, Emperor Zorn's flagship. Jake's face hardened. "Well then, Your Highness, what say we take this baby for a spin and show your old man what real power looks like?" Zira nodded, a fierce grin spreading across her face. "Initiate quantum drive. Let's rewrite the laws of physics." The ship, which they decided to name Star Dancer, leaped forward, reality bending around it. They sliced through the Centaurian fleet like a hot knife through butter, weapons that could shatter planets barely scratching their quantum-shifted hull. Emperor Zorn's enraged face appeared on the view screen. "Insolent child. You think these precursor toys can save you? I am the rightful heir to their legacy." Zira's eyes blazed with defiance. "No, father, you never understood. The precursor's power isn't about conquest. It's about protection. About shepherding life, not destroying it." As they spoke, Jake noticed something alarming on the sensor readings. "Oh, guys, hate to break up the family reunion, but we've got a problem. Big problem." The space around them began to warp and twist. Vast, shadowy shapes emerged from tears in reality, living voids that devoured light and matter alike. "The Void Hunters," Zira whispered, her face pale. "We've drawn their attention." Jake's hands tightened on the crystal, which pulsed in time with the ship's systems. "So, we've got an insane emperor on one side and cosmic horror on the other. Just another day in the life of Jake Cooper, right?" Zira managed a tight smile. "Indeed, but we're not alone in this fight." As if in response to her words, new signatures appeared on their sensors, ships of every shape and size, from 100 different species, emerging from hidden precursor outposts across the galaxy. A grizzled voice crackled over the comms. "This is Admiral Kex of the Free Worlds Alliance. Looks like you kids could use a hand." Jake whooped with joy. "Now that's what I call a cavalry. What do you say, Princess? Ready to lead a revolution?" Zira's eyes shone with determination. "Not just a revolution, Jake. A last stand for all life in the cosmos." The battle that followed would be remembered for millennia to come. The Star Dancer danced through impossible geometries, its weapons tearing holes in spacetime itself. The Free World's fleet fought with desperate courage against both the Centaurian Empire and the encroaching Void Hunters. Emperor Zorn, consumed by madness and jealousy, plunged the Eternal Dominion into the heart of the cosmic maelstrom. "If I cannot rule," he snarled, "then let oblivion take us all." "Father, no," Zira cried, but it was too late. The Eternal Dominion vanished into the maw of a Void Hunter, taking the Emperor with it. In that moment of horror and loss, Jake felt the precursor crystal pulse with newfound urgency. Understanding dawned in his eyes. "Zira," he said softly, "I know what we have to do." She met his gaze, reading the plan in his mind through their shared connection to the ship. "Jake, no. The power required, it would tear you apart." Jake managed a lopsided grin. "Hey, someone's got to save the galaxy, right? Might as well be the plucky Earthling." Before Zira could protest further, Jake plunged the crystal into the ship's core. Energy surged through him, every cell in his body screaming as he became a conduit for cosmic forces beyond comprehension. The Stardancer blazed with light, becoming a beacon that pierced the very fabric of reality. From every corner of the galaxy, the dormant precursor network rolled to life. Jake's voice, amplified a millionfold, echoed across space and time. "You want to consume worlds? Eat this." A wave of purifying energy exploded outward, scouring the Void Hunters from existence. The Centaurian fleet, caught in the backwash, found their weapons and engines neutralized. As the light faded, Jake collapsed to the deck, his body smoking, but somehow still alive. Zira cradled him in her arms, tears streaming down her face. "You impossible, beautiful human," she whispered. Jake managed a weak chuckle. "Told you, Earth kids don't give up easy." As the Free World's fleet cheered their victory, Zira knew that the real work was just beginning. The galaxy was forever changed. The precursor legacy was awake and active, and somehow, against all odds, they had survived. Jake stirred in her arms, his eyes flickering open. They were no longer simply human, but held the same starry depths as the precursor crystal. "So," he rasped, a hint of his old grin returning, "what's our next adventure, Your Highness?" Zira laughed through her tears, gesturing to the vast starfield before them. "Why don't we find out together?" And so, as dawn broke on a new era for the galaxy, the Stardancer set course for the unknown. With a rebellious princess, a quantum-touch human, and a crew of misfits from 100 worlds, the greatest adventure in cosmic history was about to unfold. The universe would never be the same, and that was just the way they liked it. Cosmic paradigm shift. The Stardancer glided through the quantum foam of reality, its hull shimmering with the iridescent energies of awakened precursor tech. On the bridge, Jake Cooper, no longer just human, but something gloriously indefinable, sat in quiet contemplation, stars dancing in his eyes. Zira, the once rebellious princess now turned leader of a cosmic revolution, paced restlessly. "The Free Worlds Alliance is struggling to maintain order," she said, her voice tight with concern. "Too many planets are vying for access to precursor sites. We've opened Pandora's box, Jake." Jake's lips quirked in a crooked smile. "Pandora's box, huh? Earth mythology's catching on fast out here." Before Zira could retort, the ship's AI, a gestalt consciousness they dubbed Nexus, chimed in. "Alert. Anomalous energy signature detected in the Andromeda galaxy. Preliminary analysis suggests Void Hunter activity." The light-hearted mood evaporated instantly. Jake stood, his form briefly flickering between solid and ethereal. "That's impossible. We wiped them out." Zira's eyes narrowed. "Unless what we fought was just the vanguard." As if in response to their growing dread, a shimmering portal materialized on the bridge. Through it stepped a being of pure light, its form constantly shifting and reforming. "Greetings, awakened ones," the entity's voice resonated directly in their minds. "I am Zephyr, emissary of the Precursor Conclave. Your actions have set in motion events long foretold. The true war approaches." Jake and Zira exchanged stunned looks. "Hold up," Jake said, raising a hand. "You're telling me the precursors are still around? And what's this about a true war?" Zephyr's form pulsed with what might have been amusement. "We have watched from the spaces between realities, guiding when necessary. But now, the Void Hunters you faced were mere scouts. The main force comes, drawn by the reactivation of our network. All of creation stands on the brink." Zira's royal bearing reasserted itself. Then we stand ready to fight. The Free World's Alliance will not be enough, Zephyr interrupted. This battle transcends conventional warfare. It will be fought across dimensions, in the realm of pure thought and quantum possibility. You, Jake Cooper, are key to our victory. Jake blinked, taken aback. Me? I'm just the guy who stumbled into this mess. Sure, I've got some fancy new powers, but you are far more than that, Zephyr insisted. Your transformation has made you a nexus of quantum potential, a bridge between realities. With proper training, you could reshape the very fabric of existence. The weight of this revelation settled heavily on Jake's shoulders. He glanced at Zira, seeing the mix of pride and concern in her eyes. All right, Jake said, squaring his shoulders. I'm in, but I'm not doing this alone. Zira, the crew, the Alliance, we're a package deal. Zephyr's form shimmered with approval. As it should be. The strength of unity was always the precursor's greatest weapon. Come, there is much to prepare. As they stepped through the portal into a realm of pure possibility, the true scope of their challenge became clear. Vast armadas of void hunters, each capable of devouring solar systems, surged across the cosmic horizon. Behind them writhed something even more terrifying, a cancerous mass of anti-reality that threatened to unmake existence itself. Well, Jake quipped, his voice only slightly shaky, I guess saving one galaxy was thinking too small. Zira took his hand, squeezing it reassuringly. We've faced impossible odds before. We'll do it again. Over the next subjective weeks, time had little meaning in this place. Jake and Zira underwent intensive training. They learned to manipulate the quantum substrate of reality, to fold space and time like origami, to tap into the collective consciousness of entire civilizations. But even as they grew in power, the threat loomed ever larger. The Void Hunters' main force would arrive in mere months, and the multiverse trembled in anticipation. In a moment of quiet amid the frenetic preparations, Jake found Zira staring out at the swirling cosmos. Credit for your thoughts, Your Highness, he asked softly. Zira turned, her eyes filled with a mix of determination and vulnerability. I never wanted to rule an empire, she confessed. But now we're talking about reshaping reality itself. Are we ready for that kind of power? Are we worthy of it? Jake stepped closer, taking her hands in his. I don't know if anyone's truly worthy, he said. But I know you, Zira, your heart, your courage. If anyone can handle this, it's you. It's us. Their eyes met, and in that moment, something shifted between them. The connection that had been building since that fateful day in the desert crystallized into something deeper, more profound. As their lips met in a kiss that sent ripples through the quantum foam, Neva noticed the knowing smile that flickered across Zephyr's luminous face. The next day, or what passed for day in this timeless realm, they presented their plan to the assembled forces of the multiverse. Representatives from millions of species, some so alien they defied comprehension, listened in awe as Jake and Zira outlined a strategy that would rewrite the laws of physics themselves. We're going to weaponize creation, Jake explained, his voice resonating with newfound authority. Turn the Void Hunters' hunger against them. But to do it, we need every sentient being in every reality to lend us their belief, their will. Zira stepped forward, her regal bearing now tempered with hard-won wisdom. This isn't just a war for territory or resources, it's a war for the very nature of existence. Will we be defined by destruction and entropy, or by growth and infinite possibility? A chorus of agreement rose from the assembled multitudes. Species that had warred for eons now stood united against a common threat. As the day of reckoning approached, Jake and Zira made their final preparations aboard the Stardancer. The ship had been transformed into a cosmic focal point, a lens through which the combined will of trillions would be channeled. You know, Jake said, a hint of his old roguish grin returning, when I dreamed of changing the world as a kid, this wasn't exactly what I had in mind. Zira laughed, the sound like music in the tense atmosphere. Oh, and what did young Jake Cooper aspire to? Astronaut, maybe, or a rock star. Jake's expression softened. Never imagined I'd find my destiny billions of light years from home, with a rebel princess by my side. Before Zira could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Nexus's voice, tinged with urgency, filled the air. Void Hunter Vanguard detected. Primary force emerging from subspace. It's time. Jake and Zira shared one last look, volumes passing between them in that silent exchange. Then, as one, they turned to face the view screen. The fabric of space-time tore open, disgorging an armada that blotted out the stars. At its heart pulsed the anti-reality mass, hungrily reaching out to unmake everything in its path. Jake took a deep breath, feeling the power of countless civilizations flowing through him. Beside him, Zira glowed with the combined regality of 1,000 royal lines. "Well, folks," Jake said, his voice carried to every corner of the multiverse, "it's showtime. Let's rewrite the cosmos." And with that, the final battle for existence itself began. Reality buckled and warped as godlike beings clashed on a scale beyond mortal comprehension. Entire galaxies were used as weapons, hurled across dimensional barriers. At the heart of it all, the Stardancer danced through impossible geometries. Jake and Zira moved as one, their merged consciousness orchestrating a symphony of creation that pushed back the tide of oblivion. For a timeless eternity, the outcome hung in the balance. And then, with a reality-shaking explosion of light and possibility, it was over. The Void Hunters were no more, transmuted into pure creative potential. The anti-reality mass collapsed in on itself, becoming a wellspring of new universes. And throughout the cosmos, sentient beings looked up at new stars blooming in their skies, feeling a sense of connection they had never known before. On the bridge of the Stardancer, Jake and Zira stood in stunned silence, their forms still shimmering with residual energy. Slowly, disbelievingly, they turned to each other. "Did we just," Jake began, "remake reality?" Zira finished, "I think we did." They laughed then, the sound filled with joy and wonder, and just a hint of shared madness. As the laughter faded, they gazed out at the transformed multiverse spread before them. "So," Jake said, a familiar glint of adventure in his starry eyes, "what's next for us, Your Highness? Retirement? Godhood? Feels like we've earned a vacation at least." Zira smiled, entwining her fingers with his. "Oh, I think our story is far from over, Jake Cooper. After all, someone needs to help guide this new cosmic order we've created." As if in response to her words, a shimmering portal appeared before them. Through it, they could see vistas of unimaginable wonder, new realities waiting to be explored. Jake grinned, squeezing Zira's hand. "Well then, Princess, shall we see what's out there?" Together, they stepped through the portal and into a future bright with infinite possibility. The universe, no, the multiverse, would never be the same. And that was just the beginning of the greatest adventure in all of existence.